Guys, welcome back to another edition of That Fuzzy Rock Show interviews. I got a banger for you today. This one's really good. We are joined today by Jimmy Waldo from Alcatrazz. Jimmy, great to see you, man. How are you today, sir?
Good to see you. I'm very good.
Awesome,
Very
man.
good.
Very cool. So, first off, man, I wanted you to thank you for taking time out to hang out with us today. We are here to talk about the newest release from you guys called Take No Prisoners. It's out now via Silver Lining Music, and we'll get to all that in just a bit, man. First, let's talk about the history of the band. When did you guys first form Alcatrazz?
It was like 82, 83. My timeline's a little fuzzy, but yeah, somewhere back there.
Now, how'd you guys wind up getting together?
Our bass player heard, Gary Shea, heard that Graham Bonnet was looking for one to do a band, one to have a band. So his manager, Gary, got in touch with his manager, and then Andy, the manager at the time, said, well, let's get together. He knew about the band. Gary and I had been in the band New England. Mm-hmm. So he knew all about New England. So he goes, oh, yeah, I know about you guys. He goes, oh, let's get together. So we got together, and at the we call it the Riot House on Sunset, the Hyatt Regency on Sunset, and had a beer and talked and was like, okay, let's do this. So Gary and I and Graham got together in Graham's garage and went over a couple of songs just with a acoustic guitar and decided we'd do it. And then we started, we got a record deal and right away. And then we started auditioning drummers and guitar players.
Speaking of guitar players, earlier on, you guys had some pretty heavy hitters in there. Yngwie and Vi were both in the band early on, right?
Yes. It was cool. Yngwie, I didn't know who he was. I'd never heard of him because he hadn't really done anything at that point. And he came to audition, and I loved his playing. And he was a wild man on the guitar. I mean, he was crazy. He just played his ass off. And what I liked about him, he was so aggressive.
Yes.
I like that aggressive kind of playing. And Steve Vai was that way. When we audition sounds ridiculous, but we auditioned Steve, and that's what I loved about him. I mean, as much as the fact that his musicianship was incredible, but sure, Steve was just so aggressive, and I love that. I don't like the real technically. Everybody's worried about the technicality more than the vibe and the music, and both Steve and Yngwie are not those people.
Most of the guys that have that ability to play a guitar like that, they don't really, they make it talk. They don't even really play it. They just make it talk.
Exactly.
It's you know what I mean? And they just have that, like you said, the vibe and not to take anything away from the guy you got playing now. Cause I was watching him and I'm like, holy shit. Like he's no slouch for sure, man. He's amazing.
Yeah, Joe Stump has got that same. That's what I love about Joe. Joe is like take no prisoners. I mean, he plays. He doesn't care. He just goes, man. He's a lot of energy, a lot of attitude. So when we play live, it doesn't matter if it's 20 people or 2,000. You know, Joe, we're going for it, and Joe plays that way. Everybody in the band does, really.
I was going to say the whole band's pretty aggressive.
Yes.
And, so you guys took. That. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I said that's what I love that about. I've always loved that about live music. I never liked, even going back to high school bands where you're playing with guys that just kind of stand there and they're all worried about playing the right note, and which obviously you have to play the right notes, but
of course
they're just they're much too worried about their technique and everything. And at the time I didn't really know what to say, but all I know is I'd seen the Who live. And that did it for me. That was like, okay, that's what there it is right there. There's the vibe, that aggression that the Who had.
Oh yeah.
And that was it for me. So anybody that didn't do that wasn't going to last long in the band.
So speaking of hitting wrong notes, and I have like 3 pages of notes here that I've written down because I start going off on tangents, so I have to kind of reel myself back.
That's okay.
So now, speaking of hitting wrong notes, like live on stage, you can hit wrong keys all the time, and pretty much nobody in the crowd will notice unless it's really bad. But the whole band kind of gives you that. They look at you and you hit the wrong note. You're like,
it does happen
sorry,
sometimes.
boys. Sure, it does.
Sometimes it's just the show's moving along and everybody's having a good time, and you hit some wrong notes, and nobody in the band even notices or cares.
Right.
Because it's all about the bigger picture, which is, are we doing it or are we not doing it? And if it's rocking and it's a good crowd, then we don't worry about it too much. We're not.
Yeah, right. As long as you see the crowd screaming, hands and horns up, you guys are good.
That's
right?
it. Then that's really the whole story right there. That's what I love playing live. I mean, I've always loved playing live and touring more than making records. Making records is a necessary evil. You have
Sure
to do.
is. Yep.
But it's just I like to work. I'm not lazy, but it's a lot of work and detail work and stuff takes months, blah, 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 blah. Writing songs is fun, but then getting that song to fruition, seeing it all the way through to finished product is a lot of work. And I'd rather play live.
Really. Understandable there. So you guys took a long break around 88, I believe, 89, maybe. You came back pretty strong in like 06. A few lineup changes. And then in 2020, 2021, you guys have been going real strong since then. Who is the current lineup now? Let's get people kind of introduce them to the folks so we don't single you out,
Yeah, it's Joe Stump on guitar for the last 3 years. 3 albums also, and Larry Patterson on drums, who played with Blaze Bayley and some other people. And Larry's been with us for a couple of years now. Was on the last record, and he's on this new record that just came out. Great guy, great drummer. And then Gary Shea on bass, my old friend who's been in Alcatrazz since the beginning.
Yes, sir.
And Doogie White on vocals, who is just so much fun to be in a band with, and a great writer, great singer. So that's the lineup.
And it's a strong lineup. It is. You guys have released, including the new one, 6 albums over the course of the band's history. In your opinion, how do you think the sound has changed or evolved, however you want to put it, from that first album until this one you guys have now?
I think it's a pretty natural evolution, like from No Parole, from rock and roll, the very first. If the band would have just stayed together like it was and just continued on, this is what it would sound like anyway. I mean, we've taken a natural progression. It's, we're influenced by other bands and records that have come out over the years, so which is natural.
Sure.
Don't copy anybody. I mean, we just do our thing, but things seep in. So I think what we're doing right now, this Take No Prisoners especially, this is probably a very natural progression from No Parole, from rock and roll. This is where we would be. Some bands, the first record, and years later, they take a left or a right, and like, wow, they don't do what they used to do. And I'd like to think we're doing the same vibe, the same attitude, the same kind of music. It's the same direction that we did then.
Oh, absolutely. So let's switch gears for a couple minutes. We'll talk a little bit about you. Take us back to your early days. What first got you interested in being a musician?
I took some piano lessons as a kid, and I hated the lessons. Loved the piano, but I hated the lessons. Hated my piano teacher. But we lived in Ohio, and there wasn't much to pick from as far as piano teachers, or there was no school. There was really no music school around. So that got me into it. And then just listening to records as a kid. I grew up in a house, and we were listening to classical music and opera and Chubby Checker, Fats Domino. I mean, all that stuff was being played. We had those old records around, and as a kid, my brothers were playing that stuff. They're older than me, so
sure,
I would hear that music, and I loved it. And so as things progressed, I got to be about 14 and decided I wanted to play guitar. So I've been fooling around with the piano for a while. So I picked up acoustic guitar. My buddy and I, my neighbor and I started playing guitar together. His dad taught us to play guitar.
Mm-hmm.
And then we didn't like the acoustic thing. We were like, oh no, this is not happening. We got to start a band. So we both went out and bought Fenders. I think my first guitar was a Gibson, but and we started a band and started, just playing rock and roll. And that's where it all started. And I did that I was just a guitar player in the band for 2 years or so. And we were playing fraternity parties and stuff. And at the time, you really needed an organ. Everybody was doing Animals and stuff that required an organ.
Sure.
And everybody looked at me and said, well, you're the only one that knows how to play an organ, a keyboard of any kind. So we bought a really cheap organ, and I started playing guitar and organ. And then as time went on, I got a Hammond B3 and was playing Hammond and playing guitar. And then eventually just nothing but keyboards.
Just with the keyboards, yeah.
Yeah.
So what were some of your early rock and roll influences? Like some of the early stuff that you were into?
The Who was a big one.
Yep.
Led Zeppelin was a huge influence. And I was already kind of well on my way by the time Zeppelin hit the scene.
Mm-hmm.
But I saw them their first tour. That blew me away. Emerson, Lake and Palmer, I saw them their first tour. Saw them in Boston in 69, 70, something like that. And that just took my head off. Pink Floyd, all the usual suspects, really. But I love the Hollies because of the vocals.
Sure.
God, I love the Beach Boys because of the vocals, and the Beatles. They kind of owned it, as far as songs and harmony. That really, the bands I was in, we'd stretch to try to sing, to try to do those harmonies.
Right.
Sounded pretty horrible, but we tried. So those were all the usual bands, were all my influences. But the Who, as far as a direction, like if somebody had said to me, you have to pick a band, you have to be in one of these bands, it would have been the Who, because I just love that energy, that ferociousness.
Yeah.
I saw them live with Keith Moon, and that changed my life, kind of thing, But I saw King Crimson and Procol Harum, and I saw Zeppelin and people like that, Mountain. Leslie West, I just loved his guitar playing, God rest him. So it was all those bands of the 60s and 70s that really had a big influence on me.
Each time you say a band's name, I just get more and more jealous. I'm like, damn. That's awesome. I would have loved moving around then.
I was lucky. I liked Hendrix a lot, but Hendrix just wasn't the same for me as the Who and Zeppelin.
Sure.
But we had tickets to go see Hendrix in North Carolina when I lived in North Carolina, and we got a gig. So I gave my ticket away because we had a gig.
Oh, wow.
And it was more important to play the gig.
Sure,
There's no way we're going to blow off a gig.
Right.
At some dumpy little club up in the nowhere in North Carolina. But we that was important to us. That was like, no, we're going to play the gig.
Sure.
And my $6 ticket to see Hendrix.
Wow.
I gave it away. Yeah.
Holy shit. $6.
Stones. My Stones ticket. I had that ticket as a stub for a long time. It was $6.50.
Wow.
$6.50. We sat and saw them in Baltimore Civic Center, and the Let It Bleed tour.
Mm-hmm.
And $6.50. And in those days, we were in Raleigh, North Carolina, and we just said, oh man, let's go see the Stones tonight. So we got 10 o'clock in the morning. We just got in the car and drove to Baltimore.
Wow.
Drove up to the ticket window and bought tickets. And then the doors weren't open yet. So we went back in the car, smoked some pot, and then just went and saw the show. And we were way back in the back and up in the top, but that was incredible.
$6.50 isn't even half a beer right now.
Can you believe it?
It's crazy, right?
Yeah. It's a lot of years gone by, but still $650 to $650.
Yeah, exactly. So is there anything out now, like in today's day, that has your ear music wise?
Um, Actually, there's so many. I mean, like our manager really into Winger. He loves Winger,
Mhm.
so he bought an older Winger record, but they have a new record out,
Yes.
and the new record is amazing.
Yep.
So, and I always like them. I always like Reb Beach and Paul Taylor. I'd worked with. He co-wrote a song on a record that I did with Bob Kulick and blah blah blah. So, Winger I've always liked. Extreme I think is incredible. Um, I used to like. I do like King's X.
Oh yeah. Yep.
I just don't hear much from them anymore.
Right.
But wow, I love them. Um, Gosh, I know there's other band. I mean, I love Iron Maiden. I've always loved Iron Maiden.
Sure.
Um, as far as brand new current bands, I can't think of a brand new band that has really caught my ear. It's mostly bands like that. But Saxon, I like a lot. I
Yep.
think Saxon's got this super solid direction. And those guys are like Iron Maiden. They've always stuck to their guns. They've always done what they do, and they do it so good. They're all such good players and really good songs. So I like them a lot. They're label mates, and
Mhm.
Nigel played drums on a couple of songs on our last record
Oh, nice.
before this one, and Nibs, the bass player, wrote a song on this record,
Oh, cool.
and I'm just a big fan of their band. I love those guys.
So I got 5 questions right now, kind of like a rapid fire. I'm going to throw them at you
You got it.
quick.
You got it.
What was the name of your first band?
Wow. The Sounds of Time.
I always love these names because they're cool. You know what I mean? Like for
Yeah.
when they're cool. You know.
And we thought we were cool because we spelled it time like the spice, time, THYME.
Oh, there you go. See that?
So we were really hip. I mean,
You
we
put your
were
own spin
way
on it. I
ahead of
like
the
it.
curve, you know.
I like it. So, what was the first gig that you ever played?
It was in a volunteer fire department in Proctorville, Ohio, and they had basically a big garage, and they had like a glorified. It looked like a plumber's truck or something was the fire truck, and I don't know what it really was, but they painted it red, and they had dances trying to raise money for the fire department, and they had a dance. The garage probably held about 50 people.
Mhm.
And I was scared to death, but the main fire department guy there, he was our drummer's father.
Oh, there you
So
go.
he said he heard us. We practiced at our drummer's house, and he
Mhm.
finally said, he goes, "Hey, you guys sound pretty good. You should play at the dance on Friday night." So we were like, "Oh my god!" So we did.
There you
And,
go.
that was technically my first gig.
Nice. Do you have so of all the places that you've played live at, do you have a favorite venue that when you're going on tour, you're like, man, I can't wait to go there? Do you have a favorite venue to play?
I love in Europe or the UK. I love the Underworld,
Mhm.
and that's one of my favorites. But in Blackpool, um, oh wow, the name escapes me. Oh, that's ridiculous. But there's a club in Blackpool, England, that is just off the hook. Um, it's just so good. It's just the perfect rock club. Um, and Blackpool is this unlikely place. I mean, it's kind of out of the way, and you just
Mhm.
wouldn't think it. But man, the club there kills. And that on that side of the ocean, here in the States, I haven't played anywhere in so long. We don't play here really. We played about 3 years ago, and it was pretty bad. There was nobody came to the shows at all.
Gotcha.
So, and as far as Europe goes, no one place really stands out. Yeah, that would be England. I love playing in the UK.
There you go. Now, have you ever sold a musical instrument that you regret?
Oh my God. Yeah. Oh my
The
God. Yeah.
one your one major regret selling an instrument. What was it?
It would be a Firebird guitar.
Oh, oh,
I had a 60s Firebird guitar when I
oh.
was a guitar player,
Mhm.
and a Les Paul. I had a 60s Les Paul. And both those guitars were amazing condition, and I needed the money. I moved to Boston, and I was starving like everybody else.
Sure.
I had those guitars, and I sold that Firebird, I think, for about $300,
Wow.
and which today would be worth 10 grand or
Right,
something.
right.
Uh, and I sold the Les Paul for $250 to
Mhm.
my manager at the time, and he never paid me. So I basically gave this beautiful Les Paul away,
Son of a
and
bitch.
which was all original and perfect condition,
Right.
67, 68, whatever it was. And it's funny about that one because fast forward ahead from 1969, 1970 to about 5 years ago, and I get an email from a guy in England that says, "Are you the Jimmy Waldo in Alcatrazz?" And I said, "Yes." He says, "I have your Les Paul." And I had written my name under the pickups. In those days, that's how you would take the pickup out and write your name in the on the wood, and that was your big security if somebody stole
In case
your
somebody
guitar.
stole it, sure.
Yeah, like they couldn't take that out. But
Right.
and he had taken the pickups out to fix a hum, and he had a ground problem, and he saw my name, and he was an Alcatrazz fan, so he had bought the Les Paul in England, and somebody had
Wow.
taken it over there, and he said that he wouldn't tell me how much he paid. It would bum me out because
Oh, wow.
he said he paid a fortune for it.
Yeah, I'll bet.
So, but that Les Paul and the Firebird were yeah. Keyboards, I didn't really care. There was no keyboards that I've ever had that, because I've got everything now in software and it sounds amazing. So
Right, right,
I
right.
still got my original Mellotron and my B3. I use my B3 that I've always had. So,
Mhm.
and my original Leslie. So, yeah, it's just guitars.
What was your biggest onstage oops?
Um,
If
wow.
one stands out among the
Yeah.
others.
Well, me personally,
Mhm.
um, I've been lucky. I haven't had I mean, I make mistakes or, forget something in the middle of a song, like, oh God,
Sure.
where are we? But me personally, nothing. As a band, we had, and I won't mention any names, but we've had a few disasters. And it wasn't Ingve. Ingve was always fine. It wasn't Ingve, but we've had a few disasters, really embarrassing moments that were like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened.
I think everybody has them though, you know?
Yeah, they do. Everybody. You talk to any band in the world and they'll tell you same thing.
And it's funny because I ask this question a lot, and every person I ask is like, "Oh yeah, that's easy." You know, it's
Yeah,
this. You know, it's been people falling off the stage,
yeah,
people getting lost and not remembering where the venue was, and
yeah.
not showing up for the gig. And there's been some pretty nasty horror
Yeah,
stories.
we
So
got lost under a stage. I mean, it was a total Spinal Tap. It was a theater or something, and where to get on stage, you had to go down the steps and under the stage, in a basement area, and then come up on the other side. And somehow it didn't work. There was no door there like they said there was. So we ended up like wandering around down there, like, how do we get out of here? And there was nobody with us. The guy just said, "Oh, you go down there and go over there, you'll find it. And you go upstairs, and that's the stage. That's where you want to enter the stage." And we couldn't find it.
oh shit.
Yeah, yeah, it took us about 15 minutes to figure that one out.
Well, at least you found it. You know.
Yeah, we did. We did. We figured it out.
So let's talk about this newest release. It's called Take No Prisoners. It's available now via Silver Lining Music. When did you guys wind up writing? When did you guys write this album?
Oh boy, probably started a year ago. I'm guessing, because we don't really like go, okay, we're going to start this album on Monday. It's just sort of we'd all been writing, and then putting stuff together. We sent a few ideas back and forth to each other, and we really, I guess one of the first songs that really came together was we were in England. We had 5 days off, and we were at an Airbnb over in the west coast of England, and I had my gear with me, and Joe Stump carries a little mini Marshall. It's really funny, this little amp about this big, and we were writing, and Giles, our manager, writes some lyrics and melody with us, and so Giles had an idea. So I had played some chords with. So Joe jumped in, and so Joe and I and Giles wrote the song Alcatrazz. It wasn't called Alcatrazz at the time, but we wrote that. Gosh, and that was a year and a half ago, at least. And then from there, just other songs just kind of kept appearing. And then we just sent them to Doogie, and then Doogie would write lyrics and a melody. And then we'd talk about that, and, kind of go throw that around back and forth. And then I would go to Boston and work with Joe and record guitars. And then when we got to the point we were ready to cut vocals, I went to Scotland, and we cut vocals there in 4 days. And then I went to Italy, and we cut drums in Italy at our drummer's house.
Oh, wow.
A year and a half ago, maybe it started, kind of thing.
So this was recorded all over the place then. You guys recorded this in several different spots.
Yeah. I do my keyboards at home mainly. I did 99% of them at home.
Now, do you have a favorite track? I know this is like asking you this question is like asking you to name your favorite kid, but do you have a favorite track on the album?
I really like Little Viper and Battle Lines. I love that groove of Battle Lines. I just like the way that feels, and I think Doogie did a great job with that one. But Little Viper I like a lot. That kicks ass and just feels good. So those two. But I love Strangers, the epic kind of thing. I love that kind of stuff too. So you're right. It's like you got 5 kids, and somebody says, "So which one's your favorite kid?"
They're all my favorites, right? That's the politically correct answer, right?
Exactly.
So the song "Don't Get Mad, Get Even," that was the first single out. Yes. That features Girls School. How did that come about?
Well, we were touring with them, and they're good friends. They're really cool people, and Doogie had written it, and we heard his original demo, and we just, I don't know. I think our manager came up with the idea. He said, "Oh man, Girls School singing that line, 'Don't get mad, get even,' would be really cool." And it's perfect from a girl's perspective. So you get this heavy band and this guy singing, but then the girls, there's nothing but girls in the chorus.
Right.
And so we cut those vocals. We were on tour in Europe with them, and came up with the idea. And I had my recording stuff with me. And so I said, "Well, come to the hotel room." So they came to my hotel room in France at this little country motel thing like you'd see in upstate New York in the old days. And they came in, and I played them the track, and because we weren't playing it live yet. And I played them the song, and they were like, okay, they messed around with it for a minute. And the whole thing took about 20 minutes.
Wow. And
the 4 of those girls, they're singing it. We go, "Yeah, that's it. That's perfect." And then so I hit play, record, and it was just playing through a speaker. We didn't have headphones, and it was bleeding into the microphone. We didn't care because they just they killed it. And I just let it play and record. There was no cutting, editing, nothing. I just hit play and record and let it go.
There you go.
And they sang top to bottom. And I did about 3 tracks of that, and we were done.
So we touched briefly on Battle Lines. That's an amazing song. The one that really stuck out for me, the finale, man, strong finisher, bring on the rock, man.
Yeah.
That is that. Tell me about that song, man.
That was a Doogie idea. Joe had written the music, and we love the music, and he played it for Doogie. Doogie wrote that in like no time. I mean, he had ideas immediately, and they changed over time, over a period of a month or so. He had changed some lyrics and stuff, but the rock idea was, yeah, he had that early on, and we all love that. That's great. And
Yeah, that's a hell of a way to end that album. Hell of a way to end it, man.
Yeah,
that's an amazing song.
I think so.
Now, do you guys have any plans of touring, supporting the album? Or
pardon?
Do you guys have any plans of touring, supporting the album?
Yeah, we won't be going out until we're going to go to France in August. We have a festival to play over there, and then going to go to South America. If everything goes okay and the South Americans don't do something weird or change their mind,
right.
Going to South America right after, like 2 days later, we go down there for 2 weeks. And then there's a U.S. tour in the works in November. If everything goes well. I mean, these days things are definitely shakier than they used to be. It's not as solid. And I hate to say it, but it's the COVID thing still has not gone away. It's not that COVID's not here, but it's the effects of that. People have gotten nervous. Venues got killed, man. The money
big time
just got killed. So now everybody, they're very cautious. So planning a tour now is definitely harder to lock stuff in. But as of right now, yeah, we're scheduled to do the States, start in November, and then do about half, and then come back after the first of the year and do the other half.
Perfect.
So
do you have anything else to tell the fans before we wrap this up? I've taken way too much of your time as it is.
Hey, nah, I'm good. I'm nothing going on. I'm fine. I enjoyed talking, so I got a big mouth. So, no, just people need to come see us live. I mean, that's the band is really good live, and what you hear on the record, that's what we do live, and we play it like the record. We're not into the big production thing on a record that we can't play live, kind of deal and all that. And we have a good time live, and it's a really good band. And I think that's definitely our best record so far. I really think because we worked hard on this record. We work hard on all of them, but this one we had about 18 songs, and there was not one song that we said, well, we don't like that, let's get rid of that.
Right.
We had written even more, but there was probably about 15 to 18 that we actually had demos for. And then we had to narrow it down to 10, really, because of vinyl.
Sure.
You can't have too many songs on vinyl. We really wanted a lot of emphasis on the vinyl. So, but I just hope everybody comes sees us live. And we're going to be, we're all writing now for more records. So
excellent. Yeah. Okay, guys, you can pick up the newest release from Alcatrazz. It's called Take No Prisoners. It's out now via Silver Lining Music. Check your streaming platforms for availability. I got some links I'm going to read to you in a minute so that you guys can check out to find more of their music, and keep your eye out for tour dates, guys, because when they come around, you're not going to want to miss it. If it's anything like the album, loud and with that energy live, it's going to be 100 times better. You're not going to want to miss it.
Yep.
So check out these are the links for all. It's alcatrazofficial.com. Facebook is at Alcatrazz Band. Twitter is Alcatrazz Real. Instagram is Alcatrazz_official. You can also check out slmusic.net. Facebook is Silver Lining Music Ltd. Limited or limited, whatever it is.
Yeah, limited, I guess. Yeah.
Twitter is Silver L Music, and Instagram is silver.lining.music. So check them all out, guys. Pick up the new album and make sure you're looking out for tour dates, because you're not going to want to miss it. Jimmy, listen, man, it's been an absolute pleasure. I appreciate you hanging out, talking with me. And listen, anytime you want to come back, brother, you just let me know, and we'll make it happen.
I would love to.
That sounds great, man. I appreciate you, and good luck with everything. You don't need luck with the album. The album stands on its own. You don't need luck with that. So
thank you very much. Oh, we need luck.
Get out and hit the road, man. Hopefully you guys come up close to upstate New York. I'll definitely be there, man.
Well, we will. Thank you, and love to see you.
All right, brother. We'll
All
talk to you
right.
soon.
Bye-bye.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's Jimmy Waldo. Thanks, Jimmy.
Thank you. Bye-bye.